Megan Turner was a 29-year-old woman living in Portland, Oregon. Working as a freelance photographer, she had built an independent life, but inside her, there was an emptiness that seemed impossible to fill. Megan hadn't spoken to her mother, Laura, in nearly 8 years. The reason was a painful and unresolved event from their past, something both had avoided confronting ever since. When Megan was 21, she and Laura had a heated argument about her future. Laura, a determined and protective woman, believed Megan should accept a scholarship to a prestigious university. Megan, however, wanted to pursue her passion for photography, even if it meant abandoning the stability of a traditional career. The argument culminated in a devastating emotional rupture. Bitter words were exchanged, and Megan left home, vowing never to return. The relationship, once marked by love and closeness, completely fell apart. For years, both lived with the weight of silence, each believing the other was responsible for the distance. Now, Megan was focused on her career. Despite being successful and having loyal friends, she felt a growing void. One night, while reviewing old photos, she found an image from her childhood. Her and Laura sitting in a park, smiling as if the world had no problems. A wave of longing and pain washed over her. Though she was still hurt, part of her wanted to understand what had really happened. Why had Laura been so inflexible back then? Was there something Megan didn't know? Everything changed when she received an unexpected call from her Aunt Carol, Laura's older sister. "Megan, I think there's something you need to know about your mother." Carol's voice was hesitant but urgent. Megan agreed to meet her the next day, unaware that this conversation would reveal truths that would change everything. Megan met her Aunt Carol at a quiet cafe in downtown Portland. It was a rainy morning, typical of the city, and the overcast weather perfectly matched the thoughts swirling in her mind. Carol seemed visibly nervous, fidgeting with the ring on her finger, as though rehearsing what to say. After exchanging tense greetings, Carol got straight to the point. "Megan, your mother never wanted you to know this. She thought she was protecting you, but I think it's time you understand what really happened." Megan felt a chill run down her spine. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her coffee cup. "Know what, Carol?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Carol took a deep breath before continuing. "At the time you two had that fight, your mother was dealing with something much bigger. Laura had been diagnosed with cancer shortly before the argument about university. She didn't tell you because she didn't want you to give up your dreams to take care of her. That's why she pushed so hard for you to go to college. She wanted to make sure you had a secure future in case she wasn't around." Megan's world stopped. Carol's words hung in the air as a whirlwind of emotions overwhelmed her: anger, guilt, sadness, and a small sense of relief for finally understanding. "And why didn't she tell me?" Megan whispered, tears streaming down her face. Carol took her hand. "Your mother is proud, Megan. She thought she was doing what was best for you. She beat the cancer, but the weight of what happened between you two never went away. She suffers as much as you do." Megan sat in silence for a long time. Part of her wanted to confront her mother immediately, but another part was afraid. How could she face Laura after so many years of pain and silence? In the days that followed, Megan couldn't think of anything else. Carol's revelation replayed in her mind on an endless loop. She revisited memories of her argument with Laura. Now seeing signs she had missed: the exhaustion on her mother's face, the worry in her eyes, the almost desperate insistence. Finally, Megan found the courage to act. She dialed her mother's number, still saved on her phone, despite never being used in those 8 years. After a few rings, Laura answered, her voice hesitant but filled with surprise. "Megan, is that you?" Hearing her mother's voice made Megan's heart ache with longing and regret. "Yes, it's me. We need to talk, Mum, about everything." Laura was silent for a moment before replying. "Whenever you're ready, Megan, I'll be here." They met at the childhood park Megan had seen in the photo, the same place that had sparked everything. Laura looked older, more vulnerable. Megan noticed small scars on her mother's skin, silent reminders of the battle she had fought alone. "I know about what happened, Mum, about the cancer," Megan began bluntly. Laura's eyes widened in surprise. "Who told you?" "Aunt Carol. And now I understand why you acted the way you did." "But, Mum, why didn't you trust me? Why didn't you let me be there for you?" Laura began to cry. Because you deserved more, Megan. More than I thought I could give you. I was afraid of being a burden, of taking away your chance to be everything I dreamed for you. I thought I was doing the right thing, but it ended up pushing us apart. Megan took her mother's hand, her eyes filled with tears. You were never a burden, Mum. All I ever wanted was to have you with me. The moment was charged with emotion. They embraced, and years of silence and pain began to dissolve in that hug. The path to reconciliation wasn't instant, but it was filled with hope. Megan and Laura started visiting each other regularly, sharing stories, and rebuilding the bond that had been lost. Though the pain of the past couldn't be erased, it was softened by their choice to move forward together. Laura began to take an interest in her daughter's work. She asked to see Megan's photographs, something she had never done before. Megan shared her favorite collection, images of Portland's natural landscapes, moments that captured the serenity she had sought during their years apart. Laura was moved. You have incredible talent, Megan. I should have seen that from the beginning. This validation, though long overdue, warmed Megan's heart. For the first time, she felt that her mother truly understood and accepted her choices. One day, Laura surprised Megan by saying she wanted to visit her studio. Megan was nervous, but excited. When Laura arrived, Megan noticed her mother was clearly out of her comfort zone, but determined to support her. As Megan explained how she created and edited her photos, Laura became especially captivated by one photograph, a black and white portrait of an empty bench in a park. That's the bench where we reunited, isn't it? Laura asked with an emotional smile. Megan nodded. I took that photo the next day, as a way to capture the moment that changed everything. Laura asked for a copy of the photo, saying she wanted to hang it in her home as a symbol of their new beginning. For Megan, that simple gesture meant more than words could express. One day, while sorting through old boxes in Laura's basement, Megan found an envelope filled with letters. They were addressed to her, but had never been sent. Curious, Megan began to read. Each letter was a heartfelt outpouring written during their years of estrangement. In one, Laura had written, I love you, Megan, more than words can ever say. Even if you never forgive me, I want you to know that I think of you every single day. Megan brought the letters to Laura, who was tending to her garden. I found them, Mum. The letters. Laura looked surprised and slightly embarrassed. I never had the courage to send them. You don't need to. I'm here now, and I want us to write new stories together, Megan said, tears streaming down her face. The letters, though painful, became a catalyst for both women to realize how much they had lost, but also how much they still had to gain. The weeks following the discovery of the letters were transformative for Megan and Laura. They decided they couldn't change the past, but they could create a new future together. The time they had spent apart now served as motivation to be more present in each other's lives. Laura, who had always been reserved, began to show a more vulnerable side. One quiet evening, as they prepared dinner together at Laura's house, she shared something she had never told anyone. Megan, when I was sick, I was scared not just of the cancer, but of never having the chance to tell you how proud I am of you. Megan, deeply moved, took her mother's hand, and now you do. We're here, Mum. We still have time. As their bond deepened, Megan came up with an idea to create a photography exhibit dedicated to her mother, centered on their journey of reconnection. She titled it, Rebuilt Bonds. And each photograph captured significant moments of their story. The bench in the park where they reunited, the letters that were never sent, and candid images of Laura in everyday but meaningful moments. When Megan shared the idea with Laura, her mother was touched but hesitant. Megan, I don't think my story is worth telling. Megan smiled. You don't understand, Mum. It's not just about you. It's about how love can overcome silence and distance. Laura agreed and began to participate in the project. Megan took spontaneous photos of her mother as they cooked together or strolled through the neighborhood. Each image seemed to capture not only moments, but also the growing connection between them. The day of the exhibit was emotional. Megan carefully curated the space, highlighting the most meaningful photographs and including excerpts from Laura's letters in the descriptions. The event drew not only friends and family, but also people who resonated with the story. When Laura arrived and saw the photos for the first time, she couldn't hold back her tears. You've turned our pain into something so beautiful, Megan. During the event, Laura was approached by an older woman who was visibly moved. "Your story reminds me of my relationship with my daughter. We've been apart for years, but maybe there's still hope." In that moment, Laura realized that her journey with Megan had the potential to inspire others to reconcile as well. After the exhibit, Megan and Laura began spending more time together, creating memories that once felt like distant dreams. Megan often took her mother on photography trips to places that held special meaning for them: the school where Megan had studied, the lake where Laura had taken her fishing, and the old neighborhood market where they used to buy ice cream. On one of these trips, Laura brought a surprise: an old camera Megan had used as a teenager, forgotten in a box in the attic. "I thought you might like to have this back," Laura said. Megan smiled, holding the object that represented the beginning of her passion for photography. "Thank you, Mum. It's more than a camera, it's a piece of who we were and who we're becoming." On Megan's 30th birthday, Laura organized a small surprise gathering. During the celebration, Laura gave a heartfelt speech that brought tears to everyone's eyes. "Megan, you're not just my daughter, you're my inspiration. The strength you showed in forgiving me and rebuilding our bond has taught me that it's never too late to love." Megan, holding her mother's hands, replied through her own tears, "And you've taught me that true love is stronger than pride or time." As the months passed, Megan and Laura continued to strengthen their bond, inspiring those around them. The Rebuilt Bonds exhibit received widespread praise and was invited to be showcased in other community spaces. At each event, Megan and Laura shared their story with honesty, often witnessing mothers and daughters from the audience reconcile right there on the spot. But their journey wasn't over. Another challenge loomed on the horizon. One day, Laura began experiencing unusual fatigue. Although she had been active and healthy since her recovery years earlier, the persistent tiredness worried Megan. Insisting her mother see a doctor, Megan eventually convinced Laura to get checked. The tests revealed that the cancer Laura had previously overcome had returned. This time, the doctors were clear. The treatment would be more challenging, with reduced chances of success. When Laura broke the news to Megan, the room fell silent. Megan felt the same wave of fear that had consumed her years ago. But this time, she knew she wouldn't run away. "Mum, you won't go through this alone. I'll be by your side every step of the way." With tears in her eyes, Laura replied, "You've already given me so much, Megan. I don't want this to consume you." But Megan stood firm. "You're the reason I've become who I am. I won't abandon you, just as you never stopped loving me, even when we were apart." In the months that followed, Megan rearranged her life to care for Laura. She accompanied her to chemotherapy sessions, spent sleepless nights by her side, and used her camera to capture moments that, even amidst pain, carried beauty. Mornings when Laura read in the garden, the smiles she gave when Megan made jokes to distract her, and the times they held hands in silence. Laura, in turn, found strength in Megan's constant presence. "I never imagined we'd go through this together. But now I see that every second with you is a gift," Laura said one night, as Megan stayed awake to watch over her. While caring for her mother, Megan began planning one last major photography project, something she knew Laura would want to see. Entitled Love Survives, the project captured stories of mothers and daughters who had overcome emotional barriers or faced challenges like theirs together. Laura actively participated, helping Megan interview people and even suggesting ideas for the photos. The project gained attention even before it was completed. In her final week of chemotherapy, Laura attended the preview exhibition. Though visibly frail, her energy and emotion were palpable. During the event, Megan gave a speech. "My mum is the reason I'm here today, both as a photographer and as a person. This project isn't just about reconciliation, it's about how true love can overcome any distance, any pain, any loss." Laura held her daughter's hand and, with a faint voice, said, "You are my legacy. Megan, you are proof that love survives everything." A few months later, Laura passed away, surrounded by Megan and close friends. Her final wish was simple: for Megan to continue telling stories of love and reconnection. Despite the pain of loss, Megan felt a profound sense of peace. She knew she had done everything she could to be by her mother's side, and together, they had turned years of silence into an unbreakable bond. After Laura's passing, Megan went through a deep period of mourning. Her mother's home, where so many recent memories had been made, became both a refuge and a source of longing. But amidst the grief, Meghan found strength in her mother's final words, "You are my legacy." These words echoed in her mind and inspired her to continue the work they had started together. Meghan expanded the Love Survives photography project into an organization dedicated to helping mothers and daughters reconnect. It offered workshops, community events, and therapy sessions for families facing emotional challenges or severe illnesses. She also published a book based on the project, featuring not only the stories and photographs of families, but also a section dedicated to her journey with Laura. Titled, "As Long as There's Love," the book became a bestseller. People from around the world began sharing their own stories of reconciliation, inspired by Meghan and Laura's relationship. Meghan began traveling across the United States, giving talks about forgiveness, love, and resilience. At each event, she shared how she had almost missed the chance to reconnect with Laura, and how her journey had taught her that it's never too late to start over. After one such talk, a young woman named Chloe approached Meghan. "My mum and I haven't spoken in years. Hearing your story gave me the courage to try again. Thank you for sharing." Moments like these reassured Meghan that her pain had transformed into something greater, something that could change lives beyond her own. 5 years later, Meghan organized a special event to honor Laura. She used the savings she had accumulated from her book and exhibitions to open a cultural center called Casa Laura. The space served as a community hub where mothers and daughters could participate in art activities, attend talks, and enjoy photography sessions, Val designed to strengthen family bonds. During the opening ceremony, Meghan spoke with heartfelt emotion. "This space is for all the mothers and daughters who, like Laura and me, discovered that love survives silence, time, and even loss. My mum taught me that it's never too late to forgive, and this is her legacy." Among the guests was Aunt Carol, the bridge that had reconnected Meghan and Laura. With tears in her eyes, she embraced Meghan and said, "Laura would be so proud of you." Years later, Meghan continued to lead the Love Survives project while pursuing her photography. She began capturing stories of families worldwide, further expanding the reach of her message. One sunny afternoon, as Meghan organized an event at Casa Laura, a young girl approached her holding an old camera. "My mum gave me this and said you started with a camera like this. Is it true?" the girl asked. Meghan smiled, gently taking the camera. "It's true. And, do you know what my mum used to say? Every photo tells a story. How about we start yours?" Meghan never stopped feeling Laura's absence, but she also never stopped sensing her presence in the little things. The scent of flowers in the garden, the sound of a camera clicking, and the smile of every mother and daughter who found their way back to each other. Laura's legacy lived on in every photo, every shared story, and especially in Meghan, who had discovered that love doesn't just survive, transforms. This story reminds us that, even in the most challenging relationships, forgiveness and love have the power to transform lives. It's never too late to start over.